Hi, welcome back. I'd like to introduce you to our next guest, Sergei Sergienko. Thank you very much for joining us, Sergei. Would you like to introduce your company first to the online audience?
Yes, hi guys. Thank you for having me. The company we're presenting here is ChronoBank. We're basically trying to do a revolution in HR industry. So what we're trying to do is tokenize the way that people get paid and make their working hour, or rather time, tradable, just like you would a kilowatt of electricity or barrel of oil.
So would you say that is to kind of change how freelancing works, or also potentially disrupt the idea of a 9-to-5 job?
That's right, that's exactly it. So we'll start with freelancers, but 9-to-5 job is what we're going after. I mean, 9-to-5 is, in our opinion, is not. It's a dinosaur. It's already had its day back in the Industrial Revolution, and I think it's due for a change.
So the kind of change that you're looking for, would you start with mostly traditional companies or startups, or which kind of sector would you start with?
Well, essentially, we'll start with the crypto guys, and some traditional companies in Australia, because we're from there, and we have a lot of relationship with a lot of companies there, and we'll start. We already started there, so that's yeah.
So when you're kind of like looking for new companies to work with, who is it that actually has to do most of the onboarding? Is it the user to kind of request the company to join in, or is it more like a peer-to-peer or gig economy?
It solves two problems it solves a problem for a potential employee, and solves a problem for potential employer, right? So for employee, what we developed is something called continuous wage, right? Continuous payment. So what it means is, as we sit here, if you're a journalist and you're getting paid for it, right? So you can actually check your balance on the app, and you'd see it increase as you literally pronounce another word. It's quite amazing, right?
So it's like live payment almost.
That's exactly it, right? And from a point of view of the companies, what we're doing is we're giving companies opportunity to always hire the best people for the job. So we created a unique algorithm, reputation algorithm that will take into account a few things, like past experience, education, all these other things, and it'll allow companies to decrease the hiring costs. So that's what we're trying to do.
So two things that I would be curious to hear about is, number one, what about personal income tax? Is that something that the platform helps with too?
Yes, that's right. That would actually make it easier to collect. Because in developed countries, for example, personal income tax is, for collections, it's the companies are responsible for it, right? And then at the end of a financial tax year, or financial year, you need to either adjust it, or like either overpay it, like either pay it if you underpaid it, or receive cashback if you overpaid it, right? And what the system allows us to do is, like, in fact, directly link to the government if need be, for income tax, correct?
So and would you see ChronoBank helping with actually bringing cryptocurrency to a wider community?
That is exactly what we're doing. In fact, like by default, if you're part of our system as a worker, you'd have a wallet off the bat, right? So that obviously brings you to a wider range of people and audience, and that's a great idea. That's a great added bonus to what we're trying to do.
So when moving forward into the next coming months and if not years, how do you see the adoption rates? What kind of things are you doing to work either with the blockchain community or other companies to bring further users on board?
Well, I just told you adoption rate, right? I mean, put it this way: if you're getting paid currently by a task or something, or by an hour, or by a week, and I come to you and say, listen, why don't you get paid by a minute? Now, I'm pretty sure you'd probably pick that way of payment, right? So that's as far as the employees are concerned. As far as the employee is concerned, well, if I come to them and say, listen, well, you just spent 20% of the person's yearly wages to hire him, would you not like to not spend that? You know, and I mean, chances are, and I'm pretty sure most of the companies out there would say, yeah, shit, yeah, essentially.
So being in the blockchain community, of course, What do you see like from other companies? Have they been very helpful and receptive in kind of building the partnerships up?
Yes,
And
definitely. Yes, sorry.
it's just you know, the community, cryptocurrency community. What we've heard over the last many days is that
Yes.
it's very important to have an ecosystem of partnering companies and support from each
Yes.
other. So tell us about your ecosystem of your.
That's a very good question. Thank you. And I mean that is vital in a sense, right? And the thing is, so far, yeah, we haven't we've been, like, to tell the truth, we've been somewhat of a wonder child of a sort, right? And I think it's happening because, like a lot of people are like us, you know, and we work together with a couple of companies, with more than a couple of companies, right? But I think the reason that is the case is because we really, it could be considered a social project. We really are betting for the small guy, right? So, like, for a change, somebody is representing a small guy who's getting ripped off by government or by crazy taxes or by bad employers, right? And the funny thing is that it's very easy for an employer to rip off a worker, right? And, like, you know, we had unions back in the past forming and everything, right? But here we can actually, well, because it's publicly available info for like what happens on a blockchain, right? You can actually have essentially people power dictating that what is good and what is bad, right? And because of that, and because people look at us as some sort of in some ways a social project, and we really do trying to change the goddamn world. I mean, we've been quite lucky in having great partners along this journey so far.
So tell us about the name ChronoBank, because it's a employment platform.
Chrono is it's of Greek origin, referring to time, right? And bank is obviously like the idea is referring to time banking, right? And what it refers to is essentially everyone will have an opportunity to be their own little bank, right? So you won't need to go to the bank and deposit your wages because literally you have it. You just always have it, right? So that's the idea behind the name. Having said that, like I told you, it's not an entity registered anywhere, right? In regard, the entity is LaborX, right? It's not an entity registered anywhere because when you start mentioning bank in a name, a lot of banks starting to go weak at the knees rather and starting to ban everything and not allowing anything to happen. You know what I mean? But you know, that's establishment. That's the current climate we live in, and I mean, we just use it with thought. I mean, granted that some people think that it implies that bank has money, but in our case we've been quite lucky that not a lot of people thought that, and I mean we have never taken advantage of anything like that. But we're just working with regulation in a couple of countries to actually register it as a brand.
So to register ChronoBank as a brand, or LaborX?
Yes.
Oh, ChronoBank.
LaborX is registered. Jurisdiction is Australia. So.
Oh, so you're based in Australia?
That's right.
Fantastic.
You can tell by my thick Australian accent.
It's a very obvious one. Very obvious.
All right, there you go.
So what are the next steps for you guys? You said that 2 days ago you just achieved a milestone, and
that's right. So 2 days ago we rolled out a platform called LaborX, right? So what it is basically you can go and post your jobs there already now. And as an employee, you can go and try to deliver those jobs as pretty much that's a product that we were promising, and with limited functionality, we rolled out beta version, and so far it's going great. I think the reception has been quite okay, and there hasn't been too many bugs to worry about. So that's the next step. Another important step that I want to mention is we've just. Actually, that's like I'll release another news in a couple of days, but that's big.
Oh, you're gonna keep something from us. You were just about to say it.
I know, but its regulation there is very vicious in a sense. So
that's something a lot of
I need to announce it after like in a certain succession.
Fair enough. I mean, that's something I bet a lot of companies in the space can assimilate to.
That's
and feel,
right. Yeah. No, but like the news, basically, like I mean, the idea is to have a look at what we do. I mean, as far as the views are concerned, and check out our blog and everything, right? And everything will be announced in due time.
I was just about to ask. So, if we wanted to follow the news and we wanted to kind of follow on, and when you're going to release it, where can we find out about?
Well,
the release?
we got. I mean, the obvious thing is probably just Google ChronoBank or something, LaborX, And I mean, like, look at our Telegram channel, right? So named ChronoBank, and yeah. I mean, what I can say though is to help us do all the things that we just discussed is we're going to roll out an exchange, a decentralized exchange, in fact. A decentralized exchange that is symbiosis with the centralized one to bring fiat into it, but it's going to happen within a couple of months. So that's
interesting.
That's good.
That's all to do to make it employees and employers easier.
That's all to make sure that the labor hour which we use within a platform is easily changeable into everything. So we have to have it as part of our ecosystem.
Makes very sense. It seems like you got the entire situation on lock.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Fingers crossed, right?
Yeah, fingers crossed.
That's right.
So, BlockShow, you're
Yes.
here. What have you discovered over the last day and a half? And we're almost rounding up on the second day.
That's
What
right.
has inspired you? What has really kind of like opened your eyes while here?
Well, you see, I've been doing this for a while, right? And to tell the truth, like in my opinion, right, shows like this bring general awareness to greater community, and it's just absolutely epic and great. And I mean, thanks to organizers for doing this, right? It's like the thing is, essentially, we got. It's amazing how many people are interested, like becoming interested in this space, right? And amazing that it's happening in a first world country. Let me explain. A lot of the times, like, there's a lot of interest in third world countries, like Russia, Indonesia, Ukraine, everything, right? And the reason is because blockchain gives people hope, right? Just the crazy growth of Bitcoin or something gave people hope, and that's why they go and run for it and embrace it, right? They're trying to get out of essentially the shithole circumstances they find themselves in, right? But in a first world country, it's amazing that people are coming on board, and not just for the hype, and not just for the great X's that you'd get an ICO on, like if you bought Bitcoin last year this time, but actually for the technology and for a greater aspect of it. It's freaking awesome. You know what I mean? And I mean that's what I discovered. Also, like, for what the BlockShow does, with a lot of, like, what I've noticed, right, is they're really creative in actually organizing this, right? So for those guys that don't know, is they actually have little passes, right, with speakers' faces on it. It's quite kind of cool, very cool. I've never seen it before, so that's definitely a keeper.
Yeah, BlockShow has. That's actually, we've heard a lot of feedback
That's
about
right, yeah,
that.
it's awesome.
It's
very good.
The artistic, creative value of putting together not
That's
just
right.
another conference, but actually all the little details.
That's right.
It's really caught the attention.
Yeah, very cool.
Well, thank you so much, Sergei, for joining
man.
us. Thank you very much for
Thank you.
joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.